Does, you guys are cute. Okay, so I just decided that I wanted to make a video about recall with Jupiter. Because it's kind of a lot to describe and easier to video for me than write out a bunch of stuff. So one thing I wanted to say is about when we first show up to a new space. So, back in the day, I would have said that it's really important to get engagement first thing when you get somewhere. And man, I can't tell you how frustrating that was as a concept for me when Dax was this age. Dax was my pointer mix. Yeah, luckily things have changed a lot in the last, 10, 12 years. And the current thinking is that it's actually way more important to have them acclimate to a space before we start asking them to do stuff. Don't mind this random Aussie. They just decided to join us. Their humans are like significantly far behind me, but they just keep hanging out with us instead. Anyway, so I totally agree with that. I think that the more modern look is way better, especially for gun dogs who I believe really need to acclimate before they can be even remotely expected to respond, especially at this age. Once he was older, Dax was not needing the same level of acclimation, and he was more able to focus on me first. But man, that was like years of frustration where I thought, well, I guess I just can't take my dog off leash very much or very often or very many places because he can't focus within the first 3 minutes of hanging out. I don't actually find that to be a problem anymore. There's a lot more school of thought, especially amongst houndy people and gun dog people and just hunting dogs in general, is to really honor the fact that they were bred for independent work. And their work is really supposed to be, part of it is keeping track of you, right? But another part of it is intelligent disobedience, right? Which is, no, I'm here to run giant circles, survey the land, figure out what's happening, and then show you stuff, which how cool is that? Look at that. He's showing me stuff right there. What a cool dog, you're right, there's birds. And a lot of the time the best way to honor that is to remember that they, especially this guy Jupiter, he's just like, all right, good boy, all done. Just to honor him for who he is. He's really a well-bred, and at least he seems to be a very well-bred dog with excellent instincts, and he really does keep track of me if I make myself hard to keep track of. He does a bunch of 180s and comes back and does a lot of those drive-bys like you just saw. And I love those drive-bys, so you might have noticed I did a bunch of praise for that, and then I immediately did my release, which is all done to go play again. The reason that I want to give him a release, even though he's already, released, is because access to the environment is like number one reinforcer for him. Hi, wow, beautiful check-in. Thank you, baby. And so I really want to hone in on that. So if he does a little drive-by and, all right, there was another little acknowledgement, kind of just gives me the time of day for a second, I want to tell him, I see that, I see you, go back to being you, go back to playing. And that alone is going to be huge reinforcement for him. At the very least, it's going to be preventing the idea that engaging with me is punishing, which is a really common problem, especially amongst these breeds where they finally come back, we grab a hold of them, and freedom over. I want my stats to be really good, so by that I mean that a lot of the time, peace, good boy, the majority of the time that he returns to me, I'm not going to be ending his fun. The vast majority of the time, 9 out of 10 times, probably more than that actually, 95% of the time, it's going to be a good time, and then I'm going to give him freedom again. That's having to make up for the fact that eventually I will have to end his freedom, and it's hard to keep our stats good. Little detour here so we can let our friends pass, and I can just go back to 3 dogs. 3 is plenty. And so one of the main things that I'm doing that's really like the biggest thing for building a recall, especially with a dog like this who loves to think independently, is to notice those moments when he is, again, just barely giving me the time of day. So that's shoulders pointed towards me, that's nose pointed towards me. It's not eye contact. Eye contact is awesome, but it sometimes just like, I don't know, that's like 5 criteria up, you know? I want to catch those moments like what he just did, right? Because I can build on those like crazy, and he offers me way, way, way more of those than actual eye contact. And it's just silly, you know, dogs don't really make eye contact. It's just something we train them to do. Ah, boy! Good job, kid. So anyway, I really want to capitalize on those little check-ins. There are also a lot of other things that I do that you really only have the option to do if you were with other dogs. So like, let's do one right now, actually. Hi, Boone! Boone! So one thing I play with all of my boarders and a lot of my adventure dogs, you know, is what we call the name game. All right! Jupiter! Whoops, I had a better one for you. Name game means your name is said, that means you're getting the next treat. Jupiter. Good boy. Boone. You know. And Joopy. Yeah, oh, you missed it. I'm doing a lot more throwing food at him because I actually think he finds that more reinforcing. Joopy. Boone. You know. Even though he's not very good at catching it. And it frequently lands on the ground. Jupiter. Yeah, all right. All right. Now, a lot of times on adventures, I'm going to go from name game to asking them to lay down. I think he's really caught on to that because he offers it a ton. And yeah, so that's rad. All done. So main key is really like being super low pressure about the situation, right? Again, letting him acclimate first. Trusting that in those first 5 to 10 minutes, hi nerd, that he is going to keep track of me. He is going to find me. Trust your dog is a huge part of this whole thing, especially with a dog like him. Literally, if I had just trusted him a tiny bit longer, later in this same adventure where he ran off and then came back and I did the dummy thing and went back into the woods. If I'd just taken my own freaking advice here, oh my god, I wouldn't have lost it. It would have been like 2 minutes of him doing his dummy thing and then boomeranging back and maybe like, oh, there you are. Anyway, I should take my own advice sometimes. And then at the end of any reinforcement procedure, when we're off leash, the last thing I do is always going to be releasing them. Eventually, dogs learn to wait for that release to return to having fun. I don't really care that Jupiter is still young enough. He's still at a point, both just developmentally and in his training, where he's not going to wait for me to release him. If he's not feeling it, he's going to keep running, you know? And that's totally fine. If I can just pull off some name equals get the best treats ever and lots of praise, and then he's just being released as he's running away, you know? It's not the end of the world. He's still learning. Oh, I'm going to be released at the end, right? I'm still going to get freedom. Freedom is allowed, and freedom is part of the reward. All right, cuties, right on, Jupiter. Beautiful job. So at this stage in the game, we've been here for probably 25 minutes or something like that. I'm doing a lot of naming his recall when he's on his way over. Oh, good shake off, my guy. So that means that he's already in the act of doing what I want, and I'm just reminding him that his name is one of the cues that means, yeah, do that thing that you're already doing. I'm just capitalizing on the fact that it's already going to happen. So, yeah. So this is a great example of me just kind of trusting him. I especially trust Eno, and I know Eno can actually bring him back, which is really useful, but not something to count on. So right now, I'm not going to call him yet. He can do some out-of-sight recalls. I know he's capable of it, but it's usually once we're already about 45 minutes in to some kind of outing. So, all right, where's your friend? Where's your friend? I hear him. I'm relying a lot on my ears with Joopy, especially when we were at Elk Rock Island. and there are a lot of ups and downs, and I couldn't actually literally see him. All right, there he is. Attaboy! And keep in mind, he's really freaking fast. So he can get out of my sight really fast, and he can get back in it really fast. That is his nature, and it's one of the reasons I'm opting to, if I'm going to go to a place like this, it's going to be on a not busy day, because I don't want to bother anybody else, and letting your teenage boy dog get out of sight briefly is like, I don't know. I just think too risky if there's a ton of people around, because he could totally go pester somebody in the way that they don't want to be pestered. So far, the only people I've seen here at all have been that crew that we saw with the Aussie. So I feel pretty good about this. Okay, so now we're at a point in this outing where I do actually think that he could recall. Probably from some pretty good distraction. I think distance for him is a little bit harder. Just as an example of what I mean, I think he could be playing with Eno within, I'd say, 50 feet of me, and I could probably recall him out of play. But if he were, I don't know, I get pretty bad about describing distance after a certain length. More than a city block away, I really don't think that he could do that yet. So that's just an interesting thing to keep in mind about Jupiter. Tracking progress is different with all dogs. You know, I would say for Eno it was the opposite. Distance was easier for him at this age than high arousal distraction. But again, that matches what they were bred to do, right? Aussies work in close proximity to humans. That's their herding style. Pointers work in not close proximity to humans, and that's their hunting style. So, you know, whatever. How cool is that? That's who we got, and we love them for it. So the reason that I wanted to film this moment and say that I'm actually not going to try and recall him right now, even though I do think that now he's at a point where his brain could make it happen, is that this area is really, really muddy. I'm not sure how well that's translating on camera, but it's actually making it hard for them to pick up speed in the same way that they can do on dry land. So they're having to be a lot more thoughtful about how they move their bodies, and that would make this a significantly, like, way harder recall. And so I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna wait till we're back on dry land and then get some actual recall practice in, just because it just takes a whole lot more effort. And part of the reason for that is that it's easy to get sidetracked if you're partway on your way back to your human and your body has to, or your brain has to switch gears in order to think about how to move your feet. It's just a high ask. What on earth are you eating? Eans! Thank you! Oh, it's grass. All right, good boy. And just to clarify, I think that with practice, you know, probably even pretty quickly at this point, he's a really cool, smart dog. I think you absolutely could be recalling him out of things like super muddy or obstacle course or whatever. I just think he's not there yet. So keep in mind that, you know, you'll get to all that stuff. You know, Eno's only 18 months, and I feel like we have that in spades. Recall's been a real priority for me, and I feel really confident that I could recall him with really significant distance and through significant distractions at this point. But again, keep in mind that I chose a breed that was bred to work in close proximity to people and work in cooperation. Oh my gosh, Boone, good job, baby. Joopy, you nutter. I know that was completely unintentional, but my goodness. Classic teen problems. So sorry, I mean well. Jupiter! Good boy! Good job! Nice! Good job! Alright, and Alden! Good boy. Okay, well, besides the fact that he just rolled Boone, besides that was a really, really awesome rep. Really, really liked that one. I liked that I got, he offered me his first focus, completely offered. I rewarded that with cheese, which, yay, he frickin' loves. And then I started to lose him. I was like, oh, I want to get a release cue in there. And so I was able to kind of use my little interrupter sound, right, kissy noise, to get him back for a second, just long enough to feed him some treats and then release him again. So that's a great example of the kind of rep that's going to really build this behavior so that he's offering focus more, which makes it way, way, way easier to request it later. Okay, tons of twists and turns in this area and pretty narrow trails, which means that he gets technically out of sight very easily. So this is scrambly mouth. This is an awesome spot to work on some actual cued recalls. Now that I've had a ton of awesome offered ones, I'm feeling a lot more confident that I can get it if I'm asking for it. So I'm just gonna sit tight here for a sec. Oh, buddy, I was expecting you to keep running. Good boy. All right, well, you're just hanging out with me. There we go. Good job, kid. All right, here we go. Oh, no, he's coming back on his own. Okay, guess this is not the right time. Oh, here we go. Jupiter! Excellent! Beautiful! Good boy! Very good boy. Joopy! Good job! All done! Okay, I'd say that was a pretty good rep. Here's another one. Jupiter! There, I see him. All right! Beautiful! All right, last rep was cheese, so this one is liver. That was such a bad catch, and I don't want the other dogs to get it, because they do not need such things. Boom. You know. Joopy! Good job! Good job! Joopy! Very good! Very good! All done! So again, this is just an awesome spot to do some drills. I'm gonna pick a different spot for myself to be. So I'm almost playing a little bit of a baby version of hide and seek here. And Jupiter! Excellent! Good boy! Right on! Cheese time! Cheese rep! Beautiful job! Beautiful guy! All done! Okay, those were great. Quite pleased with those. Nice job, kid! Nice job! And, gosh, I felt like I was going to say something else, but I got distracted by how good he's being. I'll come back to it. Okay, I remember what I was going to say earlier. So, you might notice that I'm using his name as a recall cue here. Just skipping the path altogether, huh, buddy? Instead of a different word like C-O-M-E. In the future, I really like C-O-M-E to mean... Oh, he just took the wrong path. Jupiter! Oh, I hear him coming. He is also going to just bushwhack his way through here. We're pulling an Eno. He's getting stuck. He's trying to find his way. And that's awesome, actually. Here's a little obstacle course one. I think it's probably harder for you guys to hear, but maybe you can see him now. Yeah, all right. He's at a junction right over there. He's trying to figure out which way I went. Beautiful. Good job, kiddo. Good job. Very good. Terrible catch. Oh, another bad one. There you go. Attaboy. And I'm just throwing regular treats at him. Let's find you a good one. Let's find you a really freaking good one. Or not. Good Joopy. Oh, okay, whatever. Didn't get a chance to throw in my release cue there. But anyway, I am using his name. There is kind of a, I don't know, kind of more old school thought that like name means focus, but don't necessarily walk towards me. For example, like if you want to have him in a stay on the other side of like a street or something and have him focus on you, but without recalling. That's a really, really unusual circumstance, and it kind of goes back to a pick your battles situation, which for me, I think it's way more important that I make recall as easy and doable for Jupiter as possible, because it's much more likely that there could be a potentially life-saving moment where he needs to be recalled versus a life-saving moment where he needs to be staying. So yeah, that's a really big piece of it. The other piece is that COME, I mentioned that I want that to mean something incredibly specific later on. Okay, I guess we're going that way. So for my dog, COME means come to me and sit in front of me. So that's something I use, well, when we're playing competitive obedience, the sport, but it's also something I use if I am really serious and I really need to leash them up. You could also use a nose target for something like that, but again, asking that from him right now, this is not a path. Asking that from him to do a nose target is going to be a lot harder for him to access than just run at me. You've noticed that lately he's thrown in more sits as he's been, how did I even get through here? Maybe this way. And I think that's really rad. So, that tells me that he's got his brain together a lot better now than he did, let's say 20 minutes ago. But I'm still going to just keep using his name because I want to keep my expectations super appropriate and manageable for him, lest we all end up frustrated. Okay, earlier I used the phrase pointing his shoulders at me, and I just realized I kind of wanted to clarify what that meant. So I think the language Casey would use is doing a U-turn. Shoulder pointing is a common concept in animal behavior, but basically, right now, shoulders are pointed straight ahead. Now they're pointed to the left, now back straight ahead. So that's what I mean when I say that. I think some people might use more of a car analogy, they're driving towards me. Yeah, hello! Good boy, Jubies. Well done. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that's what I meant. So that was actually a good example right there. Is I wanted to just praise and reward the fact that for a minute he was pointing himself at me. Love to see it. There was another glance in my direction. And just coming back to the idea that a lot of herders, their herding style would benefit from, gosh, she's so muddy right now, would include something like frequently coming all the way back to the person. Oh my gosh, you are so covered in burrs. Oh yeah, okay, so hunting style. So a lot of the time what he's doing, to me it looks like a check-in, but I would say that 15 years ago, when we didn't know as much about dog behavior, wow, beautiful! That might not be considered a check-in to a lot of people, that kind of drive-by behavior. It is now. Good boy! Because it really is. It's really a part of how these dogs were bred to work with humans in tandem and cooperatively. He's keeping track of me. He's not recalling all the way to me so I can get close enough to actually touch him. He's keeping track of me for his own purposes. And I think that's really fabulous. I want to capitalize on that and build on that, because I'm going to get a more cooperative dog in the long run if I'm working with his instincts instead of against them. Okay, so one thing I want to say about that acclimation period that I mentioned, that should really come first for Jupiter before anything else, is that I intentionally picked an entrance to Thousand Acres that starts with a giant field. And the reason is that I knew that he was gonna do his run big circles thing. And let's see if we got this. First I'm gonna talk to my own dogs. Good boy, Eno, good job! And I see Jupiter slowing down here. Oh, but now there's a bunch of other dogs. Oh well, this is cool for you guys to see. Right now I'm not gonna call him because I think that would be stupid of me. And I just dropped this poop bag, so I'm gonna pick it up and walk towards him. See if we can get a little less distance. Okay, but this is a great example of, oh, here he comes. Jupiter! All right, he's picking up the pace. Oh, hell yeah, good boy. That's a good boy! He's like going the wrong way, but he doesn't realize that. I bet the sound is doing all kinds of weird things. I'm gonna see if he can figure this out. I kind of think he can. I might also make a little bit more noise here. Okay, so right after that was when I lost him, and then I started doing this really stupid thing where I went back into the woods. So there were 2 trails that spit out into the same field. And when I called him, he was awesome, right? He did the right thing. He turned around, he picked up the pace, and he ran back into one of the trails. Problem is he picked the wrong one. He was wrong. This was not the one I was at. So anyway, here's me doing the super rookie mistake here and leaving right away. I decided to go back in the woods. I was like, I'll just meet you halfway, my dude. And, you know, that was really stupid. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of show you what was happening here. And Eno, as you can see, is actually the most dirty and covered in burrs he's ever been in his entire life. And this has taken days and created actually a corneal ulcer in his eyeball. That's how much he got covered in random nature stuff. So it ended up being kind of quite a production. But I just wanted to let you know that that's what happened there. If I had stayed put, yeah, he would have come right back. He does this really beautiful boomeranging, just the way that his breed's supposed to do, where it's basically like you're making a big old sweep out and then come back to you. Sweep out, come back to you. Sweep out, come back to you. I should have waited. Okay, so I had these awesome clips for a recall video, and then I just started to put them together and I realized I never finished because I lost freaking Jupiter at 1,000 Acres. Luckily only for about 15-20 minutes or so, but man, it was stressful for a sec. And I really wish I'd had that GPS collar on him. Those things are awesome, and it would have shown me that he was actually super freaking close to me the whole time. But probably couldn't hear me because it was pouring down rain and there was a bunch of brush between us. Well, intermittently pouring. It's like the whole trip there, it was like kind of rainier and then not raining. Anyway, excuse you. We're gonna not pick up pieces of wood with nails in them. Let's move along. Thank you. And I just wanted to say that I think it's really funny that, of course, I had made this video that was like, we gotta trust our dogs sometimes. Sometimes we gotta just let them run around and acclimate to the space before we can call them. And I just want to acknowledge that part of that is that, like, sometimes we can't find them for 15 minutes. It turned out that he had just made a friend. There was like these 2 dogs, like this Pitty and a Lab, and he was just like really loving them. And they're super nice human, and everybody was just getting along great. And of course the ears turn off when you're having a great time. So, you know, even though his instincts are in all the right places, nothing's perfect. Mistakes that I made. So one mistake that I made was that I immediately moved from where I was because I saw where he went and I was like, I'm just gonna meet him on the other side of that trail, whatever. You probably just saw that in the video because I think I'm gonna put this one after this clip, after that clip. And then, so that was really stupid. I should have just stayed put. Anytime that your dog is actively looking for you and you move, you just made it a lot harder for them. And where I was standing, if I hadn't moved, it turns out that what he did was he went into a trail, did a U-turn, went and then made friends with the Pitty and the Lab. The Pitty and the Lab, as you can see in that clip, it's like a brown dog who's like right next to me, like getting all up in my tree pouch. They were right there. So anyway, if I had stayed put, I would have actually seen him in about under 5 minutes. So that's on me. That's my bad. So anyway, there was a rookie mistake. We all make them. And what else? I'd say that was the main thing that I was like, that was really silly of me. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, nobody's perfect, but the most important thing to bring on a trip with a teenage gun dog is your sense of humor. So I kept that. But I stopped filming because my phone was only at 20% and I was not quite sure how long it was going to be until I found him. But my phone number's on him. So, you know, that's what's great. So I just preserved my phone battery. Anyway, hope you liked the video.